I have in my hand a piece of copper. Today we're going to cut the copper. I'm going to show you guys how to do the edges, how to bevel it correctly, how to prepare the surface so that we can minimize plate tone and get you guys ready, creating beautiful etchings, dry points, whatever you want to do, aquatints, that you can go ahead and have fun in etching. So here's some of the tools that we're going to be using. We're going to need a rag. You want pliers that have kind of like a flat head on the top. Your score tool, Sharpie, copper, blue tape, or any type of tape that's going to be kind of firm when it holds something down. You want a ruler that's like a metal edge that's going to be firm, and you also want to make sure that you have some sort of cutting mat so that it's not going to cut into your table. Alright, here we go. You're cutting a piece of copper. Just make sure you're secure. Basically, I mark off exactly where I want my cut to be. I'm going to place a really hard metal edge down. You want to make sure it's pretty firm. It's not that flexible in terms of cutting left and right. You want to put it right down on the opposite side of where you want to cut so that you're not cutting into the plate. You want to keep the plate as pristine as possible, and you want to make sure that that mark stays clean. Voila. So when you move it, it needs to be firm so it doesn't move at all. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to put my hand firmly up against the edge. Alright. I'm going to take my draw tool, I'm going to put it right up against the side. I'm going to make sure that I cut straight through. First score is going to be really lightly. Second score a little heavier. And then what I'm going to start looking for, what you want is you want the copper to come off in like this really beautiful curl so that it stays even all the way across. It takes a little bit of muscle, but what you're going to see are little burrs that look like that. This should probably take me about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to turn off the camera while I do this, and then I'll come back. Alright, so here you can see I'm taking the tape off, the ruler's off to the side. I'm kind of looking at the score, making sure that it's going at least 1/4 of the way through so I can bend it. When I look at it, I can see it's pretty clean. It's not that easy to see in the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to bend it. So I got my copper. I'm going to take my piece of cloth. Just going to wrap it along the edge like this. Take the flat side of my pliers, make sure that I'm not touching this side. And then I just want to start from the end. I want to bend really, really lightly. I want to make sure my hand is firm. Just bend really lightly. You're going to see that your object's going to start bending like that. If the whole plate starts bending, you want to stop and you want to score a little bit more because that means it's not cut enough through. And then I'm just going to take the whole thing and it should snap right off. And what you should end with is just a really clean scored line. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and file it. We're going to get going. Basically, when you're filing, you want to move in one direction, and you usually want to move in an upward motion. Moving in one direction, moving downward is really hard to do. Coming backwards, you can cause injury. And really, if you move in one direction, you create a much more smoother, much more flatter, much more straighter edge. So I'm going to start with my coarse file, and I'm going to push pretty hard. You'll notice I still have the plastic on here. I want to keep the plastic on there so that I protect the surface just in case there's a nick, because that's just going to mean more work in the long run. And I want to go all the way from this corner of the edge and come all the way down. And while I'm filing away, you're going to notice that my file is at an angle. It's not totally flat because I don't want to just take away surface material and shrink my plate. What you really want to do is you want to bevel the plate so that when it goes under the press, it's not cutting into the pads. That's the goal. So I'm going to bevel it from one side. I'm going to smooth out that cut. And then what you're going to do after you've beveled it to a point where you think it's nice and you're happy with the bevel, you're going to go to the other side. You're going to do that cut. I'm going to take off a little bit of this material on the front because that's where I bent it. So there's some burrs sticking out. And you're going to see like a little glare right there. I know that that's the edge that's kind of coming off. And then you're going to go all the way around. Ah! Do not fall. That would have been bad. You're gonna go all the way around the plate. Make sure you do all 4 corners. It's gonna take me a little while, so I'm gonna turn off the camera in a little bit. And then I'll show you guys how to round off the edges, alright? So you guys can see really quick, if you look at this edge, you'll kind of see how I'm catching the edge. You'll see how there's a bevel right there. You want to just make sure the bevel's even all the way around. That's kind of the goal. Now I'm going to take it, flip it on the back side, and what I want to do is get rid of this burr that's kind of happening on the back. Doesn't need that much. Just want to make sure there's nothing sticking off. Alright, so here comes the next big step. So I'm going to switch to my coarse file and the mill file, the flat file. And what I want to do is now I'm going to actually take off this plastic, and you can see how the surface is pretty smooth. There's a little nick right there that I'll take care of later. I want to take this edge right here. You don't want this corner to be that sharp. It's going to put like a little hole in my finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my file and I'm going to make a curve. I'm going to start from the flat side of the curve and come around the edge. Okay, I'm going to curve around that surface. Curve around that surface. I'm trying to do it rhythmically here. Okay. Until you end up with something that looks a little bit curved like that and like that. Let's do it on this side. I'm going to take it, nice curve, I'm going to take it, I'm going to bevel that curve. I want to bevel it so it has like an equal edge right around there, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. You want to just create a curve that has a really smooth transition right across the edge, alright? Alright guys, so what I'm creating is a curved edge. So if you look at the plate, you can see on all sides that the edges are all curved. Okay. What you really want to do is get a really clean, nice bevel all the way around. So now I can go ahead and take the plastic off. We're going to go ahead and prep the top of the surface, clean these edges up, sand it all down, and then we'll be ready to go. So the surface is already pretty clean, so depending on what kind of surface you want to get, it's going to affect what kind of sandpaper you get. So I like to sand the surface down. I really want to get it pristine. I want to get it like mirror finish. Because it's in pretty good shape, I'm going to start with a 600, go up to 800, and then I'm going to go up to 1000, and then I can go up to 1500, or I can even go up to 2000. I'm going to stop at 1500. I think it should be okay for getting what I want. Okay. I'm going to start with a 600. I'm going to go in this direction. And then I want to basically go in both directions. So I'm going to go this across this way as well. And then you're going to go diagonal. Skip the 1000, sorry, 1000, and then you're going to go to 1500. And with 1000 and 1500, I'm only going to go back and front and horizontally. Alright you guys, you can see I have a really nice, beautiful, shiny surface. I'm going to be using two things, Brasso and Neverdull. You want to make sure that you have gloves on when you're using them, and then the last thing I'm going to be doing is isopropyl alcohol. 70 or 80% is fine. Basically your job is to clean it, decrease degrease it before you do anything to it, before you put any hard ground on it or you directly dry point into it, so that the surface is totally clean. I'm going to tear off a little piece. Okay. I'm basically going to take that little piece, I'm going to rub it on in a circular pattern. Here we go. Rub, rub, rub. And you're going to see it's going to start oxidizing, or taking the oxidation off the plate. What you want to look for is that black. And then I'm going to take a clean rag. I'm going to clean it off completely. Make sure you're on a clean sheet of paper so that you don't get residue back onto your plate. And then I'm going to take Brasso. Make sure you shake up your Brasso because the liquid tends to separate. I'm just going to spritz a little bit on. And with Brasso, you don't want to use too much. Once again, clean cloth. I'm just using some old t-shirts. Circular pattern. Let it sit for a second. And you basically just want to wipe it off. Now there are all sorts of different ways to do this. I know that. This is just one way of doing it. I'm going to put on some alcohol, find a clean piece of my cloth, and I'm just going to wipe it down. Really make sure it's completely clean, degreased, no oxidation. So at the end of it, your print should be, your plate should be shiny and almost glass-like. Hey, there's my camera. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have fun etching. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.